Well, greetings and welcome to this episode of the Heal and Restore podcast with Randy and Cathy Boyd from the Heal and Restore Counseling. Well, we're back.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't done this in a hot minute.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been like 3 weeks or so, and but we needed the time away.
Yeah, you still look like you're in your aloha mindset
well,
here with this shirt you got going on.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to keep the tan I got. Now that
And
we're
I feel like I'm fading.
yeah, but you're not, right?
No, but it feels good when your skin is tan. It just feels healthy to
Feels
me.
healthy. Yeah. Some people go, "How can it be healthy when you're in the sun?"
I know.
We've been in the sun all our life, so
maybe it's in our heads, but it feels good.
it feels good.
Yeah,
Right. So hey, June is the month of Father's Day.
We think about fathers a lot more. I think about fathers a lot more in the month of June. So here we are.
Yeah, and I think about them all the time. So because I am a father.
That is true. That
You're
is
a mother.
true. And
So-
because you are a father,
Yeah.
it's my turn to do a little interview with you today.
Yes, she is. And this whole month we're going to have a couple interviews. I think we got 3 of them set
We've
up.
got 3 guests coming in all month long, talking about different phases of fatherhood.
Yeah, so it's
we hear a lot about moms and the things that moms go through, but it's nice to hear on some of these topics how fathers emotionally are affected, spiritually are affected, physically are affected on things that happen in their lives, because it's happening to us moms.
Right.
It also happens to dads.
Right.
So we're excited to have these topics come up this month and have this special guest.
And I want to remind everybody too that it takes a lot of courage, not weakness. It takes a lot of courage for these men to talk about some of these hard things they go through as a father, right? Because society looks at us like we're supposed to be stoic.
Have it all
we got
together.
it all together,
Yeah.
and we're rough and tumble guys. Well, we are rough and tumble, but we also have a lot of emotions and feelings.
I was going to just say, God has given man and woman equal emotions.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
We manage them differently.
Yes.
We handle them differently. We process them differently, but they're all the same emotion.
Yeah, we're all made in the image of God, which the Bible tells us we're all made in the image of God. Then we are. We are given equal emotions and feelings.
That is true.
And the way we process it, just like you say, is an excellent analyzation of that.
Yeah, no, it's good. So before we jump on to my questions for the father I was going to say the father in my life. He is a father. He's not my father, but the father of our children. I do have a couple things I want to hit on real quick.
How are you going to jump on?
Stop.
I'm just kidding. I mean,
he is so analytical on words. It just drives me nuts sometimes. Anybody else out there have one of those in their life? No, anyways, I just want to remind our listeners and those that might be watching on YouTube is that, Heal and Restore Counseling, you can follow us on Instagram as well as Facebook. We put daily posts out on both. Also, you can find a reminder of our Spotify or our podcast, which is led through Spotify, but hits all different platforms. And then I also want to remind our listening audience, or maybe those that haven't heard or aren't aware, Heal and Restore Counseling, we put it on our hearts at the end of the year that we want to help as many couples or individuals that we can over the year 2024. So we have offered a 50% discount on our services, and how you can learn more about that is to visit our website.
But it's really important to understand that you don't get 50% of the services.
No, that's great. That's good. 100% of the services for a 50% discount. That's great. So you can visit our website at healandrestorecounseling.com. We are offering a 45-minute no-cost discovery session. That means you come in, or we get on a Zoom if you're out of area, we sit down, we get to know you, you get to know us. We want to make sure that if you're looking for our services, that we are the good fit for you, and that we can help you. We want to make sure we can. And also just a reminder, if you go to our website at healandrestorecounseling.com, you can click on the link to get a free copy of our current book. I say current because there's a couple more in process. Our current book, How to Heal and Restore Your Marriage, it's a PDF copy, and that is no charge to you either. So feel free to do that.
Our second book is going to be out probably within a week. We're just working on some final things with the barcode. We're having some issues with the barcode.
Yeah, no, that's good.
So that'll be out, and then the third one is in process.
Good. See, we're moving right along here. So anyways, today we're going to talk to Randy, or I'm going to talk to Randy about fathering adult children. Most of you know that we've been married for, it'll be 41 years in August. We together have 3 adult children, and 2 of them are married, 1 of them is not. And so we want to talk about what it's like for fathers. We still parent our kids no matter what age. I mean, we parent differently, I would say. It's less parenting, but what it's like for fathering adult children. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. Randy has no idea what these questions are. It was total preparation on my part because this is where we get the open, honest, and vulnerable mindset of a father adulting with adult children.
Yeah.
So briefly, Randy, and I know that word is a very hard word for you, but briefly, can you share a little bit about your childhood? Not necessarily details and specifics, but like where you are in the birth order, what siblings you had, what parenting, or not what parenting, but who was the adults in your life? I know. I said briefly. This is a long story
So
here.
I'm number 1 in the birth order.
Okay.
I have one brother that I haven't seen since 2007. Okay. And sometimes it bothers me, sometimes it doesn't. For the most part, it doesn't bother me. As far as it's my grandparents.
Yeah.
They were my grandmother and grandfather on my father's side. They were actually the ones they're the light of my life. They're the ones that kept me from diving off into the darkness of my mother's side of the family.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this with a lot of respect for everybody, and that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
My real father was a great man in the life that the 12 years that I had in my life.
Yeah.
He took us fishing, took us camping, to the beach. He lived on the beach. He was a fireman. There's a lot that I looked up to. So
he influenced you even in your short 12 years that you had with him.
He's the one, and my grandfather continued it, but he's the one that got me
that foundation. Would you say?
That foundation, especially for the outdoors.
Yeah.
He taught us how to love and respect the outdoors and everything in it. So,
yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it was. I have to look up to him and then my grandmother and grandfather.
Yeah. So just briefly, because this is always one of these subjects that is hard sometimes for Randy. He had a mom.
Yes.
And his mom and dad divorced when he was young, and then his dad passed away.
Yes.
So, and then there was a so-called stepdad that came into the picture. So those were basically the adults in your life. You had your dad for the first 12 years of your life, your mom, and then a stepman that came in. But more importantly, you had your grandparents that were your
they were the real adults.
Saving
my
grace.
mother and my stepfather
were
not really adults.
So needless to say, you didn't have much of a relationship with your mom as an adult, based upon what took place in your childhood. So what prepared you to be a dad for adult children or even young children? But we're talking about raising what it's like with adult children. But being that you didn't have that super great example, what do you think prepared you?
Well, and this sounds weird, maybe it doesn't, but in many ways, my mother Judy and my stepfather Jack, they did.
Interesting. Yeah.
They prepared me and showed me how not to raise my children. Then my grandmother and my grandfather. I mean, I tell Cathy this oftentimes. So one thing, fond memory, there's a lot of them about my grandfather, but the one is, even as an adult, when I would go up to see my grandmother and my grandfather, Gramps, as I call them, would always take me by both my cheeks and give me a big whisker burn and say, "I love you, boy." Yeah. All right. And so he was that one. He was grumpy sometimes, but that's what grandpas, they're allowed to do that. They can get grumpy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Grandpa here.
So yeah, as prepared as I could be, because as we all say, as we all say, we're not given a handbook when we have kids. And so all we can do is do the best that we can do. And here's what happens a lot of times, right? And we're guilty of it, is that we either just continue the generational curse and treat our kids like crap and
Right.
ignore them and all that stuff, or we go overboard because we don't want them to go through what we went through as children.
Right.
Right. So
Overcompensation.
we overcompensate.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's so many people out there that are guilty of it.
Yeah.
And they don't know any better
No.
because there's nobody there to guide them on how to be a parent. There's a lot of great information out there with some very, very strong spiritual, God-loving people that can guide us and guided Cathy and I on how to be a responsible man,
Yeah.
a responsible father, a responsible
That's
husband.
good. That's good. And that kind of leads into my next question. You know, knowing the childhood that you had and what you learned from your mom and stepdad of how not to be, what was the one thing that you wanted to do differently raising your kids versus the environment you were brought up in? What stands out to the most?
I wanted to make sure that they grew up in a loving, kind home,
Mm,
right? I didn't want them to see the violence that I saw in my home. I wanted to be as peaceful as it could be,
yeah,
right? They're still children. We still have to parent them. We still have to tell them right from wrong. We still have to discipline them, right?
mhm,
And remember this: that discipline comes before punishment,
right.
right? So punishment doesn't always work. Matter of fact, 9 out of 10 times it doesn't
Yeah,
work.
kind of backfires
It kind
sometimes.
of backfires. So
Mhm,
I just want to make sure they grew up and knowing that mom and dad love them no matter what.
mhm.
Okay. And one thing that stands out, this is perfect, right? Garrett, when I think he was 10, 11, 12, somewhere, I can't remember the exact age. I don't know what we were talking about, right? But what he did was he was doing something and I said something to him and he goes, Dad, you hurt my feelings, right? And I just shut up, right? I heard him. I understood what he was saying. I says, okay. I just let him go in his room,
Yeah,
right? I didn't tell him he was wrong for having feelings.
yeah,
I didn't tell him he shouldn't have said that to me. I let him own his feelings
right.
and work through them,
Yeah,
right? And a lot of us men, we were never allowed to show our feelings or emotions
mhm,
like
right.
that. There's a lot of things that could happen to us.
Yeah.
None of them, most of them were not negative, were not positive. They were mostly all negative.
Mhm. Yeah, and I'll just kinda add to that. Obviously, I was in the home with our kids growing
Right.
up. You know, hearing these great positive things that, you wanted to change, I just wanna remind the listeners, we weren't perfect in doing
No.
it. We did fail in some
Yeah.
areas as
Yeah.
well. And, but, it's that old adage that you learn as you go.
Yeah.
And so you pick up, you just don't repeat the mistake over and over. Now, we probably repeated the mistake a few times till we learned it, but, that's how life is. We have to
Well,
learn as we go, and we have to correct the mistakes we make along the way.
I've talked to my kids and apologized to them, but it's all right.
Yeah.
What they've told me, you were a great dad most of the time. There's just those times you were
There's
going
times
through.
you weren't.
Right.
So for those that are listening, some of our regulars are probably very familiar with our family dynamic. How many adult children do you have?
Biological?
Oh, you better be careful there. We have a lot of spiritual children,
Yes.
adults.
Yeah, we got a lot.
We don't have any
You can't
unknown
count
births out there.
we don't have any unknown biological. No, we have three. I have three. We have three.
We have three, yeah, three adult kids.
We have Danny, that's from my first marriage,
Mhm.
but Cathy took Danny as if he was her
Yeah.
very own.
That's all I knew to do.
So we got Danny, Garrett, and Alyssa.
Right. That's awesome. And then we have 5 grandchildren
5 grandchildren.
from 14 to 4. So
Right. Right.
yeah, the dynamics is
The
there.
kids are all getting up towards 40. One of them's over 40.
One's over 40, another's turning 40. It's kind of weird. I don't feel like
It's
I'm
like
40,
really
so I
weird,
don't
yeah.
know how that happened. So here's another good question.
Oh no.
So what was one of your favorite memories raising the kids? I
Raising
know
the
there were so
kids,
many
oh.
because we really did have well, we still do, but we have had some good experiences and good memories with the kids. Uh-oh, this sounds a little evil. Laugh.
Well, the first time that we went to Silver Lake, the Sierras camping.
Oh,
Oh yeah, okay. There was a lot of good memories on that trip, hiking
Yeah.
up to that lake.
All of our trips up there.
Right. But the first one was hiking up to the lake up there above camp. Kids running up and down, dog running up and down. Well, they must have they ran twice as many miles as they needed to walk,
Right.
right? But they had a blast up
Yeah.
there. But we love to fish. So I took the kids one morning and at Silver Lake, they stock it once a week, whenever they were stocking it back then, right?
Yeah.
Several years ago. And I took the boys and we went down to Rush Creek to fish in the creek.
Yeah.
And we were gone a couple hours, right? And there was rumors that the truck was going to come and stock that day, but we just did what we wanted to do. So we rolled back.
Like guys, they take off and do the opposite of what they should do. Oh, did I say that out loud?
Hey,
there's a reason.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I just opened my door. So go ahead, honey.
So-
Finish your story.
So we rolled back into camp and I'm driving down the road, right? And out pops Alyssa with a stringer full of trout and a big smile on her face. And I think on that stringer, there was a little more than 5 trout. I think there was like twice as many as 5 trout, which is okay, except Missy here didn't have her fishing license.
No, I did not have a fishing
Alyssa didn't
license.
need one, so she shouldn't have been fishing, period, because Cathy didn't have
Right.
fishing. So they're down at the lake fishing.
Because the
Cathy
truck
goes-
came in.
Because the truck came in,
With
Alyssa got
all
all
the fish.
excited. Mom, the fish came in. So Cathy took her down fishing. So here she's got double limits on one stringer. Statute of limitations way gone, so we don't have to worry about
Yeah.
this, right? Cathy goes, well, that's not all. What do you mean this isn't all? They must have caught 40 fish.
It was a lot.
Oh my God, girl. I took the boys, I go, come on, we gotta clean these fish quickly, right?
Yeah.
So that was, I mean, the excitement on Alyssa's face was really cool
Right.
to see. She was all excited. She caught all those fish with Mom. There's actually a guy down there, helping.
Yeah, he was helping us.
You know what Cathy doesn't know about Department of Fish and Game and about all this stuff. She was just doing what a mom does, and
Yeah.
I really did appreciate it. They had a lot of fun. Alyssa thought she was a queen.
Great memory.
But what they don't know is that there could have been a Department of Fish and Game down the lake, across the lake, with a pair of binoculars
Watching us.
watching them.
Yeah.
Thank God there wasn't.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of good. You know, we went to Australia with the kids. We went to Pueblo, Mexico with the kids, all over the United States. Garrett's baseball, Garrett and Danny soccer. There's just a lot of memories, really good memories.
Yeah.
We didn't spare our children any type of travel at all.
No, and I think that obviously shaped them and formed them
Yeah,
as to who they are
Right,
today
exactly.
too, as well. So that's great. I love that story. But yeah, that's true. There are so many memories.
talk about doing what we're not supposed to do.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. That was before recovery, I will
Usually-
say.
Remember, there's one finger pointing at you, at me. There's 3 more pointing right back at
Right.
you.
No,
Okay?
I know. So the next thought I have is, what is your biggest blessing in fathering adult children? We've talked about, memories of the kids, but as
Yeah.
an adult, what is the blessing of fathering those adult children?
You know, as we look at them now as parents, we have Garrett and Alyssa that have children,
Mhm.
right? And Danny doesn't. That's okay. I mean, we don't. Matter of fact, we didn't push any of our kids to have grandchildren.
Right.
That's up to them. It's their life, not ours. But just watching the way that they're parenting their children,
Mm-hmm.
both Garrett and both Dan, or Garrett and Alyssa, both of them are such great parents.
Mm-hmm.
Alyssa fights for her children viciously.
Where do you think she got that from?
Tucker.
She got that from her daddy. That's for sure.
Garrett, with his children highly respect him.
Yeah.
And they're all young kids, and they're disciplinarians, right? They love their children to death. Danny, as a young adult, he's had a show just like we all have.
Yeah.
But in many ways, a lot of ways, he's very much persevered. He went and got his pastry chef. He went to school for that. He's a manager of a small restaurant in Temecula right now. He's, and so all of that makes me proud as a father,
Mhm.
right? Because it just tells me that, okay, I did my job. Even when I didn't think I did a good job, what they did is they walked away with the good, not the bad.
Right. They walked away. I think that what's really important is that they walked away with a foundation.
Yeah.
And that's what I share a lot with the girls that I work with is that, creating that foundation so that they can build on it.
But see, what I think what's really more important that people need to understand is this, is that they're adults now,
Mhm.
right? They're watching Kathy and I, and they've watched Kathy and I, especially since we got in recovery. I mean, a little over 18 years
Yeah.
of sobriety. We've been in recovery for 19 years, 20 years, right? So they've been watching us as adults climb out of a dark space. They've
Mhm.
watched us fight for our marriage. They've watched us fight to do the things that are right. They've watched me, fight to get my sobriety and maintain my sobriety. And
Mhm.
I don't have to fight that no more. But they've watched what we do as adults. So the one thing that we have to remember is that, and Kathy brings this up all the time, is they're always watching
Yeah,
us. Even as adults are
as I said, there's
watching.
no age limit
No,
on how our eyes work.
no.
And so kids, adults, they're always watching and replicating the good things,
Right,
but also not replicating the bad
right,
things, which is what you learned
right,
as a
exactly. And
child
you don't
growing up.
replicate the
So
bad things. No, absolutely not. So,
so the other question I was thinking about in this is that, and this is where you might have to dig deep and get into your heart a little
oh
bit.
no, not again.
What challenges, if any, do you have fathering adult children? Because sometimes there are some challenges that I don't think we realize we're working with or struggling through. Can you think of anything that might be more of a challenge to you?
Well, it's the one thing. Let me start with the one thing that hasn't been a challenge. Our children, we did our job,
Hmm.
right? And so we don't interfere with their life.
Yeah.
If they need help and they want help, we're there for them. We will spend the time to talk with them.
Hmm.
We can't tell them what to do.
Hmm.
We don't have that power.
Yeah,
All we can do is share our experience with them,
that's good. That's good
right?
because sometimes I think as a parent, well, we want to fix them. We want to make it better. We want to, help them get better, and that's not our job.
At this point, it's not. I
Yeah.
think when they're younger, again, it's like we have to instruct them,
Hmm.
right? But the best way to instruct anybody
Yeah.
is through your own experience. And then
Example it.
example that,
Mm.
listen to what they're saying with a lot of curiosity, and then develop curious questions instead of pointing
Mhm.
a finger. So you need to do this, you
Yeah.
should have done that. That doesn't do no good.
Yeah. No, that's good.
So that's been the great gift is all of our kids. Yeah, they've all had their individual struggles,
Mhm.
right? As everybody does,
Right.
but they've been able to persevere through a lot, and they're in our eyes, and they're very successful in life. And by that, I mean, yeah, financially, they're fairly successful,
Mhm.
right? They're all got good jobs.
They work hard.
They work hard, but they're successful parents. They're successful human beings. They're like within the
Mhm.
community, right? They're not a thorn to community.
Yeah.
And to me, that's probably the greatest gift,
Yeah. And
you
I
know.
think, talking about a challenge, one thing that just popped into my mind is maybe the reason that we don't find that we have these challenges is because we do step back.
Yeah, we're not all enmeshed in our life.
Yes.
Tell them that, when Garrett disciplines the kids, I don't say a word.
Yeah.
It's not my job, and
No.
he's not doing
Even
nothing.
if we don't agree, sometimes
Well,
we
yeah,
have to
but
be able to step back.
they're not doing anything that really hurts the kids. If
No.
we saw a change in behavior that was, we saw something happen with Garrett and Naomi, the way they're treating the kids,
We might
and
pull
then
this
we
in.
saw the kids that were getting really nasty, then we might say something, say,
Yeah.
hey, look, we need to sit down and talk. You do what you want,
But I
but this is
think
what we
that
feel.
eliminates
It
challenges is when
does.
we can step back
Yes.
and allow them to be adults,
Yes.
be parents,
Yeah.
do all of those things. So, you know, the question came is, what are the challenges? The fact is it shouldn't be a struggle to be a parent of
It
adult
shouldn't
children.
be.
And so I think that's the whole point in that.
No, there's really no challenges.
Yeah.
When, you know, it's like, the challenge might be,
Not saying nothing.
exactly,
Yeah.
right? That would be the challenge,
Yeah.
is not saying nothing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
With Danny, sometimes, you know, he vents sometimes, and we just let it go. We've learned, let it go. In the morning, he'll
Yeah.
he'll text me and he'll apologize, and it happens every time,
Yeah.
right? So
Most times.
most time,
Yeah,
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 most time,
most
you know,
times.
so
So there's a saying that you learned years ago,
Yes.
and this is very impactful. It says, "Become the father to your kids that you wished you had growing up." Tell our listeners, how did that shape you as a father to your kids, and even now as adults, having adult kids?
okay. And it goes for mothers too.
It does go for
Right,
mothers, but
okay, I just wanna put
this,
that
yeah,
out there.
yeah.
So, here's the deal. I knew what I didn't wanna be,
Mhm.
right? But I didn't know how to be what I wanted to be.
That's good.
You know, it's like James says, "Why do I keep doing the things I don't wanna do? Why do I keep doing the things I don't wanna do, and not doing the things I wanna do?"
Mhm.
Right? And so, it was my mentors that taught me these things, and, um sorry, she's flashing, I know, in front of me, it really distracts me.
I know. I'm sorry, but
You don't do it. Um, what was the question again?
how
Oh,
did that
yeah,
that
right,
phrase
okay,
shape you?
okay.
Yeah.
Um, it allowed me to say, "Hmm, I never thought of it that way. Be the father of my children that I always wanted to grow up, what I always wanted growing up."
Yeah.
So, basically, that looked like my real father,
Mm.
right? But I only had him until I was 12.
Mhm.
So, here I am, I'm in my 50s, I think, when this was said, and, you know, my children are grown adults. You know, how do I do that now? And sometimes it was just as simple as picking up the phone, and, like, I did it mostly to Garrett, I'll be honest with
Mm.
that. I did it with Lisa, I did it to Danny, but mostly with Garrett. When I needed to hear from my dad that wasn't around, I would simply pick up the phone, and I would call Garrett, and I'd say, "Hey, son, I just wanna let you know I'm thinking about you, and I love you."
Mhm.
That's really it,
Yeah.
right? And so I was able to give my children what I didn't get, but what I wanted,
Mhm.
right? I'm not saying I didn't need to be disciplined as a kid, but again, discipline and punishment is completely different, and I was nothing but punishment, there's no discipline. So it's being able to do that with our children, allowing them, right?
Mhm.
Because again, the constant enmeshment my mother tried to have in our lives, right,
Yeah.
was not
Didn't
good,
work.
right? So it's allowing them to be the parents and the married couple that they wanna be,
Mhm.
and not interfere with them,
Yeah.
right?
And, you know, that saying is something we share not only with our own kids, but everyone that we
Everybody,
works with,
right.
because a lot of us have never heard that, and we need
No,
to hear that
yeah,
to become those people.
and we even say it like this, because we have to remember that as married couples, husbands and wives, we are a direct reflection of our mom and dad, the way they were
Mhm.
married to each other.
Mhm.
Um, and so we use that same phrase, but we change it to be the husband or be the wife
Mhm.
that you wish you could be, or that you, however you want to word that, but you don't necessarily have to be like your mom and dad.
Mm.
And unfortunately, a lot of people, they don't want to be that,
Yeah.
but it's just kind of a, I don't know what it is, a natural phenomenon, I'll say. We turn into those
Right.
husbands and wives,
Yeah.
right?
Or those mothers and fathers.
Mothers or fathers,
Yeah.
exactly. So, you don't, so one of the things we tell all of our people to do, let's go right to the father thing. So write down what it is,
Yeah.
right, that you would like to be as a father.
Mhm.
What is it that you would like to give your children that you didn't,
Mhm.
right? And
So there's something tangible to shoot for and to
yes,
work on.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And not that our parents were all bad,
No.
right? We want to take the good. There's always good in there. I
Mhm.
mean, there's always good, bad.
Even with you, you
Yeah,
had there was
absolutely.
good.
but the bad overrode the good.
Mhm.
And thank God there was a little bit of good, right? So, right, what does that look like to you?
Yeah.
What does that father look like to you? What does that mother look like to you? What does that husband or wife look like to
And then
you?
start applying it.
And then just start applying.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable. I guarantee it, because you haven't been doing it. It's changing behavior.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So that was kind of my last question that I was thinking about in this episode of parenting adult children. So in closing this out, what would be one thing that you would like to have our listeners, what would be a takeaway that you want them to take away from this, from hearing this?
You don't have to repeat the mistakes that your parents your parents did
Mhm.
when raising you.
Yeah.
They did the best they could, and that's a cliche that probably a lot of people don't want to hear. It's not justifying any kind of bad parenting, but it's the truth of the matter. Learned behavior gets passed down from generation to
Mhm.
generation. So it's our job.
That's good.
It's our job. Are we going to break the generational curses, or are we going to continue to let them fester in our family?
Mm, that's powerful. That's
Okay.
good. Beautiful. Thank you, honey.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that our listeners took away something from this. There's always a nugget there. We have to be open and willing to hear it and listen. So, thanks, honey, for
Yeah.
letting me
Yeah.
be the interviewer and you the interviewee.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
So,
Thank you for interviewing me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good. That's awesome.
That it?
That's it.
There's no more?
No, what do you want to keep going?
Well, you know me.
I know you'll keep going
Yeah, I'll
over
keep
and over
going.
again. No, so we just
Yeah.
thank you guys for listening. We thank
Yeah.
you for, I just personally, from both of us would like to say thank you for those that are dedicated to listening week in and week out. And, when you miss a week, it's there. The library is there. There's so many nuggets on different topics throughout the year that are available to you. So we thank you for that.
I think there's 168 of them on.
Hey, we're up there. That's awesome.
169, something like that.
That's
So,
awesome.
and make sure if you watch on our podcast or listening to our podcast, please press the like and subscribe button. It's that simple. We
Yeah.
don't bug you with a lot of stuff.
But more importantly, share it with your
Share
family and
it with your
friends.
family,
There's
right.
somebody that needs to hear
Right,
something.
exactly.
So make sure you're sharing it, passing it along. We would really appreciate that as
Yes,
well.
exactly. All right.
Yeah.
So remember, if nobody tells you they love you today, or Randy does.
Cathy does.
More importantly, God does. Be blessed, everybody. Have a fabulous, marvelous week. Love you all.